What's going on, people? Welcome to Man Knows Football. We are back for another live. To those that haven't tuned into the previous live, myself and Lee, we had a bit of a discussion about injuries. Now I am back with Younes. Younes, is finally good to see you. We were meant to see you yesterday, but we know something came up. I let the followers know, the viewers know that something came up, and you said your apologies and stuff. So, well, how you doing, though, Younes? Hope everything's been sorted out for you, man.
All good, all good. Yeah, apologies for yesterday. Was meant to be on here. On here now, so hopefully made amends. And yeah, we're gonna get cracking. But I'm all good. I hope you are too. I hope everyone else is doing well as well.
Yeah, I mean, and in typical Chelsea fashion, you only have to just turn away from social media for a few minutes, and then a new massive story comes out.
That's it.
Um, if to those that kind of caught the live post a bit earlier, you would see that the thumbnail was different. There was one less player, and we were heavily rumored to Johnson from Nottingham Forest, and now another name has been thrown into the mix, and it goes by the name of Bradley Barcola. He's not a player that I know too much about, to be honest, but quite a few people have responded to this tweet, as you can see, and the responses seem to be a little mixed up on the player. But we're going to talk about alternative options to Michael Olise throughout this stream. Obviously, we know what's happened. We got the news earlier that he won't be joining Chelsea, and in fact, he did sign a new contract at Crystal Palace. However, we're going to discuss the reasons as to why that happened, because quite a few false rumors that are floating around. Olise rejected Chelsea, but we're going to get into that. But people, before we do get into the content, I need you now more than ever to give the video a thumbs up. You guys know that I've been away for a little minute, so I'm going to need you lot's help to get back up on the algorithm. So smash that thumbs up. Also subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. If you're watching after the stream, leave your thoughts down there in the comments. But Younes, I think a good place to start is just your thoughts at the moment on the transfer window so far, man. Like, how has it gone for you? How do you rate it? Because it's been a while since we've spoken.
It's been blockbuster, as far as I'm concerned. Brilliant window, absolutely brilliant window so far. We've ended up with players that we didn't think we'd end up with. At one point, we didn't think Caicedo would actually happen. It happened, even though it was a lot of money. But we didn't think Lavia would join Caicedo. We get both. Here we are. With all the players that we got that we didn't think would perform, and they have. So overall, it's just absolutely unreal. Until today.
Yeah.
And it's only right that with loads of highs, you're going to end up with a couple of lows. That's normal, and that's the reality. So, no, overall, I'm still very, very happy. Very, very happy. Can't complain.
Yeah, I am as well. And listen, the nature of the transfer window is like, you've got to look at it relatively. Is when you look at the amount of players, the volume of players that we've actually been going for and trying to get in through the door, it's big. It's a big number. So chances are, the more players you go for, chances are of things like this happening. And we're no different in this case. And you know what really accelerated yesterday with the whole Michael Olise situation was that Crystal Palace weren't too happy with the way that we dealt with their player Olise. Apparently, all was agreed between player and Chelsea Football Club. All that was left was for us to trigger the release clause, which to this day I don't know if it exists or if it was ever there. I have no idea. But apparently, we approached the player. We were a little bit naughty, but I was saying to Guns on the other stream, I was like, every single club technically taps up players.
100.
And what I mean by that is, how do you agree personal terms with a player before going to the club and agreeing a transfer fee? Is it not speaking to the player before the club? And then isn't that tapping up? I don't understand this.
This is the whole point. And the fact, no, I mean, you need to make the club aware that you're interested. And as long as that's happened, then technically it can't be deemed as tapping up because the club are technically aware of your interest. And then talking to the player and getting the personal terms sorted without having to actually put a bid in is the process. But normally tapping up would be, we've not contacted the club at all. We've gone straight to the player. They don't know. But in this case, where he has a release clause, It's like, let's be honest. If we talk to the player and then we come to you, he's got a release clause. You're a nobody in this conversation at this point. If we trigger the release clause, we trigger the release clause. So there's no need for us to be able to come to you and go, oh, by the way, we're interested. We're going to talk to the player, and then we're going to trigger the release clause, and then we won't need to talk to you. It doesn't make any sense. Do you know what I mean? But look, Palace have got their underwear in a twist. And yes, maybe we have spoken to the player before, letting them know we were going to trigger the release clause, and maybe that's why they're getting hell bent. But all I suggest at this point is to avoid all birds. Don't talk to seagulls and don't talk to eagles. Simple as that.
Yeah, I agree. Sean says the release clause was a secret. Only the club knew that was the problem. Well, I'm sure Chelsea found out that news from the agent. What's the point in having a secret release clause? But the agent probably turned around and said to Chelsea, look, there's a release clause in the contract. Well, if it's there, then obviously it's the agent's job to let any interested club know that that's what's there. That's what it's going to take to get his client out of the club.
I personally think that Crystal Palace were unhappy that his release clause was lower than what it really should be. I think letting a player go of that sort of price is where they're going, crap, we might have messed this up.
And that's another thing that I brought up in the other stream. I said, I'm not with the snitching thing, but it is a brilliant piece of business from Crystal Palace if that release clause is true, because let's have it right. Michael Olise going for 35 million is a travesty for Crystal Palace. We're about to sell Lewis Hall for 35 million and he's only played 12 games for Chelsea, and I'm still a little pissed about that. So 35 M's for Olise would definitely hurt any club. So from a business perspective, 100%, I understand why he done it. He had to protect his investment, had to protect his asset. You know what I mean? That's just the nature of business. And this is what football players are to clubs. They are commodities. They are assets. Yeah, the higher the value they are to them, the better for them. No different with Michael Olise. So the question is now, Younes, we're not going for Olise. There were several others that we had been linked with around the same time when the Olise rumors first started coming out. That's Ryan Cherky. That is Kudus. And we've now been, once again, this guy, Bradley Barcola, has now been thrown into the mix. But from what I see of Barcola, he looks more of a winger. And from the comments that are being made, under the tweet that I put down, a lot of people saying he is actually a winger, but he can play on either side. He can play either on the left, either on the right. He's a very dynamic sort of player. Do you know much about him?
I'll be honest, not too much. I've seen him. I know him, but I haven't paid attention to Bradley Barcola for me to go, I know exactly everything about this player. I don't. So I've had to do some digging. Now, it suits the profile of player that we're looking for. This is why I think we're making this move, because I think we have a list of players at Chelsea where there's a certain profile and then all those players that are linked with that type of profile. So he's a winger that can play down the middle, can play as a centre forward as well as on the left, even though he's a right winger. But he can play across that entire front line, which is versatility. So 20 years old, and since his name got rumoured, I've seen quite a lot of positive feedback. I've seen quite a lot of people go, oh, wow, but yeah, Barcola, absolutely. I'm like, okay, let's do some digging. So, look, I made a joke earlier on, and I said that with this guy, it looks like we've just gone and tried to pluck out the guy that looks most like Michael Olise. We've just gone, all right, can we find a French lookalike of Michael, even though he is French, but a Ligue 1 lookalike, and we've plucked him out. It's Bradley Barcola. So we'll see how much this guy's going to cost. 45, 50 million, I think, is the rumored fee from Lyon.
Now, here's the thing. I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball out here. What if this is not even an Olise alternative? How if... Right, because from what I understand, he's dominantly a right-footed winger, but he can also use his left. Fair play. Yeah. How if Pochettino's looking at it like, maybe if Ukraine Bolt plays on the right and this guy plays on the left, we might have something here. Now, I do remember seeing Mudryk being used on the right in pre-season.
Yeah.
So maybe that might be a little bit of a prelude to something like this. Because remember, Ziyech has just gone out of the door on a free transfer, right?
Yep.
Pulisic has left the club. Hudson-Odoi is rumored to be leaving soon for about 4 million, 5 million to Fulham if that deal's still on.
Yep.
So those are three wingers already out the door. And the main wingers that we're going to be using that we remained with is Mudryk, what's his name?
Madueke and Sterling.
Madueke and Raheem Sterling. So there is room for one more winger. That
Yep.
doesn't mean that we don't have to go for another number 10. This is what I'm slightly starting to think potentially could happen.
Although he is predominantly a winger and predominantly a right winger. So I do suspect that we might end up with Mudryk on the left. Possibly this guy, if he were to come in as another right wing option. But I agree, we need to take attention to who's going to be playing in that attacking midfield role. If we do play in a system that has that, because we do know that with Lavia coming in, we're now able to play a 4-3-3, which doesn't require number 10. So we could go down that route. We're flexible. So yeah, if this is going to be a signing that comes in and we do still go for a 10, then screw it. Try and get him and Shirky from Lyon. Come to a deal with Lyon.
And
We'd be sorted.
You mentioned Ryan Shirky. That's another natural attacking mid, number 10 that we were linked with earlier in the window. Obviously, rumors died down. We heard things like Chelsea were not really wasn't really too fond of his attitude, things of that nature. And yeah, as a result of that, we pursued Olise. But for me, Olise, like I said several times before, made the most sense. He already knows the academy. His brother's still at Chelsea Football Club, already in the Premier League, already living in London. It was and up until the new contract was signed, apparently there was a clear price tag that was going to allow the player to move out of the club. So that one made the most sense for me. But in terms of profile, and I think me and you, we've had this conversation before, but in terms of profile of the options that have been made available to us in that number 10 position, Kudus ticks all the boxes for me.
100. Now, this is where I'm honestly looking at it and thinking, if we've abandoned Olise, that's not happening, then there's no reason why we shouldn't go for Kudus. The path is clear. It's there. Go and get that deal done quickly before West Ham decide to trigger everything and get that deal done. For me, if I had a choice, and I've said this previous, if I had a choice between Kudus and Olise, I would have chosen Kudus, although I wasn't against Olise coming in. But now that it's all kind of aligned, go and get Kudus ASAP.
Well, we're a bit in a race against time because as you can see from this tweet that's loading up here, once again, I don't know how official this source is, but a few people have forwarded me this actually. But West Ham are pressing to conclude the signing of Ajax forward Mohammed Kudus as they seek to minimize the risk of a potential hijack from Chelsea. So West Ham are actually trying to close this deal with Chelsea in mind, which, if this is to be believed, is positive for me, which means that we're not completely out of the race. It does say here, though, good progress has already been made with the technical director, Tim. I'm not going to try that. Driving negotiations. So if rumors are to be believed, West Ham's technical director is already in Amsterdam. But as you know, especially in this transfer window, things do happen and there is such thing as the player's will. Do you think if Chelsea do register an interest and let his agent know and say, listen, we might have to make a bid for him after all, that Kudus might stall his decision and wait for a Chelsea to come in? Because remember, he did do it earlier with Brighton. They tried to wrap him up quite early in the window before we even got this Caicedo deal through. But Kudus stalled Brighton. So do you think potentially we could see this happen again?
I think we could. The one thing that stalled with Brighton was the fact he wanted a release clause. And Brighton were like, no. And for obvious reasons, hence Caicedo.
Yeah.
With West Ham, I don't know if they've got to that conversation. But look, if Chelsea came into the picture, I mean, who wouldn't? If you have a choice between going to West Ham and then Chelsea come in, you're going to listen. And I think he would. And it's just a case of making sure that everything in the deal aligns with what Chelsea are looking for and what he's looking for, and we can try and get that done ASAP. I would run into that deal fast, try and get this done quickly. And I think Kudus would listen, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. Like I said, I've just seen another tweet from another Chelsea account. Why not just effing sign Kudus, mate? I'm completely with you on that one. Completely with you on that one. Um. Oh wow. Okay, so this is. I don't know how I feel about this, to be honest with you.
What?
Gonna move on to Brennan Johnson, the Nottingham Forest winger
Yeah, that was a weird one. And I'll be honest, I hope that's a smokescreen.
for Kudus, right?
Fingers crossed. Yeah,
Yeah,
it makes no sense to pay
I'm
that much money
really
for
hoping
Johnson.
so. So, to those that don't know, the rumored price tag for this player, Brennan Johnson, Nottingham Forest are said to be looking for no less than 50 million of the
Yeah,
King's finest
get
for
out,
this player. And to
get
put
out.
this into context, man, Kudus is going for potentially 45 million euros from
Exactly.
Ajax. So it's an absolute no-brainer for me. Now, I will say this: I do want to be fair on Brennan Johnson. I do not think he's a shit player, but
Good
at the
player.
same time, I do not think he is what's going to elevate us in terms of squad depth, even to take us forward to the next level. And right now, I want us to stick to the precedent of what we've just done in our midfield. You sign Casado, you don't rest, go and sign Romeo Lavia. The drop off there is absolutely, it's not that big. Two potential quality and potentially elite DMs, number sixes in the future as options. We need to be sticking to that. And the fact that we've moved on to youth players, right, it becomes a little easier to be able to do that because two senior elite players are not going to want to, fight for one position. But two unproven, relatively unproven young players might be more willing to do that. So if we are in the business of signing youth players, we should be trying to get number one option and number two option, and the drop off shouldn't be too much. This here for me doesn't massively improve us. But what do you think?
No, I completely agree. I think it's a case of Brendan Johnson's not a bad player, good player. I would take him if the fee was 20, 25 mil.
Exactly half that.
You know
It's got
what
to
I
be
mean?
half that.
But 40, 50 is, come on. I mean, Nottingham Forest, all due respect, I know you've got as many Champions Leagues as us, but relax. Relax. Stay in your lane. And stop getting. I mean, I have to also admit, the market's the market, and values are flipping skyrocketing at the moment. So I can
Yeah.
understand where Forest are coming from, but to try and quote that sort of price, he's not going to be sold for that sort of price. There's just no way anyone's going to come in and give Nottingham Forest 50 mil. So I'm hoping it's a smokescreen to try and divert attention, to try and keep the profile on a down low. You know, if we're going for Kudus and we make that public and everything's going crazy, then that's going to alert West Ham and whatnot.
Yeah.
This at
Yeah.
least give the indication that maybe we're looking elsewhere. Maybe Chelsea won't come in. Maybe Chelsea are not looking to get anyone else. Maybe it's just him. It's a curveball, so I'm hoping it's a curveball and it's not actual interest. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, man, big time. Fingers crossed, man. But another something else that I wanted to talk about, something that's a bit more internal. In fact, you know what? Before we get onto that, let's talk about Hakim Ziyech. Apparently, he has passed his medical for Galatasaray, and Chelsea
Thank
are
God for
allowing
that.
him to leave on a free transfer. One of the most Teflon guys that has somehow managed to stay at Chelsea for this long, man. I don't know how he's managed to do it. But finally, he is on his way out of the door. How do you feel about seeing Ziyech finally leave?
Bro, finally, man. I wish him the best, honestly, because I like Ziyech. And I've got quite high hopes that he'll go to another country like Turkey, for example, like Galatasaray, and he'll do well as long as his body doesn't break down. And
Yeah,
that's what I was worried about. I was worried that if he failed his medical again, that his body's just finished. At that point, like he's just not going to get signed. So you might have to call it a day. But if he has passed it and everything's okay, he goes off, then I wish him the best because he needs to play. We ain't keeping him, even if it's a free transfer. Just go and play your football and good luck. So
yeah.
I hope he kills it and finishes his career on a high at this point.
No facts. And yeah, that just moves me on to the next topic because we're in a bit of a conundrum now with this player.
Bro,
Unfortunately, Reece James has sustained another injury, a hamstring injury, and it's a reoccurring one now. And I don't know how true this is, but he is apparently refusing to get the surgery that's needed to, fix this once and for all. I don't know how true that is. I'd be very surprised if it is.
I'd be
But
surprised.
if that's the case, I'd be very, very disappointed.
Yeah.
But conversations need to be had about Reece James, man. No,
I
we're
think
not
it's
gone.
I think it's easier than it seems at the moment in terms of the conversation that needs to be had about James. If James went and had surgery, for example, came back and still had issues, well, at that point, we've got to have serious conversations. But for now, this realistically, and we were talking about it at the end of last season. Do you remember when he got injured? And we were like, yo, preseason's going to kick in at some point. Look, we've reached the end of the season. Go and get surgery. So then by the time you come back, maybe we would have just started the season. You'll be able to get yourself match fit, and then we won't have to talk about this ever again. At this point, it's come up again. He needs surgery. He needs surgery, man. Get under the knife, sort this out once and for all, just like Kante did. Kante had to go through the procedure. Go through the procedure. Even if it's reconstructive, that hamstring needs surgery at this point, man. It can't keep going on like this. If not, it's just going to break down and break down and break down. And that's when he'll tear it off the bone.
Yeah, I mean, I said on the stream before, I mean, he's got slow cooked hamstrings, bruv. Just falls right off the bone. Like,
literally.
But it's the reason why I'm saying conversations needs to be had. No, people, I'm not saying let's sell Reece James. It's because he's been given the captaincy for this football club.
Yeah, I feel bad for him.
That's an extra pressure on the fact that he needs to make sure that he's available. A captain is no use if he's going to be spending a large percentage off the pitch on the bench. We need somebody leading on the pitch. And I advocated for Reece James to be captain. I saw, certain aspects in him, more so in his lead by example, that made me feel like, yeah, this guy should be captain. There are other aspects he does need to work on, being more vocal, able to galvanize the squad and so on and so forth. But look, if he's not going to be available, we might have to rethink this captaincy thing through until we can see that he's able to come back and perform on a consistent basis. It's not a good look for Reece at the minute, man, honestly.
It's not. And yeah, I feel bad for him because first game as captain and boom, this happens. And now he's going to be out potentially for months, which means that we'll probably talk in January. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So at that point, I'm glad we got Gusto. Very, very happy we got Gusto. Imagine if we didn't, imagine if we didn't get Gusto. We don't have Aspie, and we ain't got Loftus-Cheek to stick at right wing back.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the situation we was in last season, and that's what we had to do. So I'm glad. Look, Gusto will definitely step in the role. I think, and I'll say this. I told Georges as well. I reckon Gusto will give Reece James a run for his money. By the time Reece James comes back, I think people will be looking and go, whoa, no, we can't drop Gusto.
Bro, Gusto is not here to be a backup or to be a number two. He's here to compete and try and keep that position. People don't understand how talented that boy is, Gusto can play. Completely. Give him a run of games. I really hope, and this is what gives me hope as well, is like, League One players, when they come from that league, they do have a decent success rate in terms of adapting to the Prem. If he can do the same, people, I'm telling you, we've got a baller on our hands. Absolute 100%. Baller on our hands there. So Reece has got to be careful. He's definitely got to look over his shoulder because as well, there's a prime opportunity for Malo Gusto to get into the French squad as their number one right back as well. That spot is technically up for grabs, in my opinion. So if he does well this season, there's an extra incentive for him to go to the Euros with France and potentially win the competition, which would be great for him and great for us, not so much for England. But we've got Gareth Southgate in there. And there's a reason why I say what I say at the end of every stream. With or without him, with Gareth Southgate, I don't see us doing much. But Tariq, thank you for the super chat. I think you was meant to leave a comment. I'm assuming it's going to be this one. How do people feel when they watch Raheem Sterling play? I will let you answer that one, Younes, first.
Pain. Just pure pain. No, and you know what? Like, it's at a point where I don't understand how he keeps... not how he keeps starting. We only just started the season. But it's clear that he shouldn't keep starting. Do you know what I mean? Like, if against West Ham I see Sterling start, I'm a flip.
I agree with you, man. Although, let's have it right. His last game wasn't one of his worst, but it still wasn't enough for me to say, give him another chance this season. Yeah, it's not for me. And all things considered, the wages that he's on and the amount that we could potentially free up by letting go of him makes more sense. Makes
completely.
more sense.
When you look at the other players that we're using or we're bringing on or whatever, even players that haven't been at the club for nearly half as long, they're having much more impact than a Sterling. It doesn't add up. And then people talk about experience. I'm like, yo, okay, experience, but the experience only counts if you're able to use it and show how experienced you actually are. He's playing like he's started playing football last week, which is, it's nuts. So what's the experience worth at that point? It's not worth anything if you can't use it, you know? So I'm really baffled with Sterling, But at this point, Mudryk for me starts. And again, on that right-hand side, depending on what's going to happen with this whole situation and who we end up getting in, or if we give Madueke a run, who we've not really seen, and I want to see what he's going to be like on the pod.
Exactly.
Then, yeah, we're fine for now.
Yeah, no, I agree. Andre asked a very good question here. If Gusto gets injured, then what? Well,
at that point, we play Poch at right back.
Well, listen, there's several options here. Number one, Trevor might stay off the back of this Reece James injury. That's number one, and he might have to deputize there a few games. It's not like we ain't seen him do it before. Not really my first and most favorite choice, but it's an option there that's available for the club, especially if we're looking to address other positions still in the window. And also one as well, right, that I don't think will happen, but it wouldn't be super surprising if it did, right? I want you guys to think back to Manchester United versus Brighton and the position that Moises Caicedo played in that game. He did actually play right back, and he did actually have a very good game. Now, listen. I am not for it. I'm not for it. I am absolutely not for it at all. And I hope that's not considered an option. But it has been tried and tested in the Premier League. I just don't hope it's what we resort to. But I mean, that's just to answer his question, to give him to give him more honesty. That's just to answer the question, man.
No, it's true. It's fair. He can. If he's called upon, he can play there.
Oh, Disasi too as well can play right back.
Yeah,
so I guess we don't have to address that extreme with Caicedo. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for that. Younes, how much time do you have left for the stream? I don't want to keep you too long.
Yeah, about another 5 max.
Got another 5 minutes. Well, okay, so how do you expect us to finish this window? What positions do you expect us to address? Because we haven't spoken about the goalkeeper. That's one position. But any other positions do you think Chelsea will be looking to strengthen?
I reckon, we'll sort out this winger / attacking midfield issue. I do think we'll get another goalkeeper in, I'll be honest. And I think that could be it. Obviously, there's a Lavia announcement, and I think that's it at that point.
Hopefully we should get that Lavia announcement today or tomorrow,
apparently he's done all his media photo shoots done, and what I'm like,
exactly. I've got a lot of faith that should be done soon. We might get it, you know how this window goes. We might just end the stream and break in Chelsea have signed Romeo Lavia. We're literally at that point now. But once again, for me, I'm just going to keep an eye on the Kudus situation, that number 10 situation. Remember, what's his name? Brennan Johnson and Barcola are not necessarily number 10, so it might be a number 10 plus a winger. So bear that in mind. But people, once again, please give this video a thumbs up. Get us back up in that algorithm. I'm going to be posting every day from now on. Well, that's the intention anyway. Also, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you are watching after the live stream as well, make sure you leave your thoughts down there in the comments. You lot already know who Younes is, but if you don't, hit the link in the title of this video right there. It'll take you straight to his channel. And just on that, Younes, what have you already got up on your channel, or what do you have coming up on the channel that you'd like the people to see?
So there was a video earlier on about Olise's deal collapsing and the Reece James injury and all of that. There'll be a second video later tonight where it could be the Lavia announcement. It could be another winger. It could be, I don't know, looking at what birds are flying across Chelsea this time. I don't know. We'll see. And on top of that, there's new channel launched, Shootout. So that's pretty cool. And that will be new video dropping later for Premier League predictions this weekend. So
why didn't I know about this?
What?
the shootout chat, bro. Do you know what? To be
Oh, it's
fair,
just launched. It's just launched. So
yeah, and I have been working like an absolute dog, like double shifts and stuff. So it's been hard to just keep up. Because I was thinking, like, this man just said, get Guni on the shootout. I was like, I don't know what this guy's on about, but yeah, man.
we're gonna have you have a penalty shootout instead.
Yeah, man.
Commentate
Yeah,
some pens.
exactly, Saraf. Who doesn't? Who doesn't know? But yeah, man. People, listen. Thank you for joining in. Big up everybody in the chat as well. Enjoy interacting with you. Lot. I've definitely missed you guys. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you very much for your time, and please continue to support the channel the way you have been. Let's continue to grow this. Pick up from where we've left off. But until maybe later on, or most likely tomorrow, please be safe. And as always, get Gareth Southgate out of here. Bless up.